Hey there folks, John here for Biddy Kong's Quest, and today was the Nintendo Direct, possibly the final Nintendo Direct that focused on the first Switch's new games. And part of that was the Metroid Prime 4 gameplay reveal trailer, which I know a lot of people were kind of expecting to show up. But I did want to make a video about it because I gotta say, I think this might be one of the most botched trailer reveals that Nintendo has ever made. I was extremely disappointed with this trailer for a game that I'm actually very, very excited about having come out. Most of you guys probably know by this point, I work as an editor in the film industry and I edit trailers. So as you can imagine, I have a lot of thoughts on this topic because I really feel like this trailer should have been so much better than it actually was. For a game that I'm really excited about, I am extremely underwhelmed by what I saw in the trailer. And it's not a matter of what the content is. The content is not probably the issue. It's actually an issue with how the trailer is structured. So what I wanted to do in this video is kind of just break down a little bit of kind of what was wrong with the trailer and kind of how I feel like I would fix it if I were to re-edit it, and then, you know, have a special surprise at the end. I might actually take a stab at re-editing it myself. So here we go. All right, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve. This is what I do on my editing in. And yeah, I kind of wanted to start by just going through this trailer and kind of giving some thoughts on what it is and kind of what rubs me the wrong way. Now, before you get into this and with me, you got to understand, I do this quite a bit, and there may be some leaps of logic that I may make that need to be explained just because I don't think they need to be explained just because I have been doing it for a while. So if there's any gaps or anything in what I say, or you're like, hey, you use this term or something that I don't understand, throw it down in the comments and I'll do my best to explain kind of what I'm talking about here. But ultimately, the main issue with this trailer, in my opinion, is that it's got a lot of structural problems, which I will expound upon in a little bit. But first, let's just go through the trailer. I'm going to just go ahead and go full screen here. We're just going to kind of go through, and I'm going to give some thoughts on kind of what's going on. So I'll pause here and there and kind of explain what my thoughts are. So we open right here with scenery, which is fine. This is an okay way to open a trailer. This is what you would normally call your hook. Some people would call this a cold open if it was a like TV series or something like that. But yeah, so that's kind of what this is, and it kind of just gets you in and gets you to start asking some questions and understand, okay, this is kind of what I'm watching. And we kind of have the teleport in and the Samus opening theme and everything like that. And I'll pause it right here. That's pretty standard for a trailer. I don't necessarily think that there's an issue here. The goal of a cold open is basically to establish a question in the audience's mind that we're then going to answer. So the operative question here is, where are we? Why is Samus here? We probably all know who Samus is at this point. I mean, it's Metroid. But that said, you might want to try to give some clues for some people that are unfamiliar with the franchise or unfamiliar with the character or whatever. The goal is that by the end of the cold open, which we have ended the cold open, you are really going to try to... This is where you've hooked your audience and you've decided, and you kind of have got everybody actually interested in what's going on. The vast majority of trailers will have this kind of thing, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the rest of the trailer in the sense that, like, you're not creating, it's not part of the story you're creating or anything like that. It's really just visual interest, and I think they did that fairly well here. There's probably some better ways they could have done it, just given some of the footage we saw in the other trailer. A good example of this is the other trailer as well. I'm going to come back out here for a second and click on the so this is the original announcement trailer, where we got the kind of what everybody kind of assumes is kind of the opening of the game. And that one starts out like this, and this is probably a little bit better of a cold open because it establishes a place and a time and kind of tells us, all right, this is where we are, what we're about to watch. And then we get this moment where, boom, the ship comes in. Anybody that knows Metroid knows exactly what's happening by this point. Like, you don't even have to wonder, and then Samus comes out. And she flips out, lands on the ground, and boom, we're in. This is a much more dynamic way to do a cold open for a trailer. And I think it honestly works a ton better than what they did there, because now we have a very similar situation where you have that opening theme, you have it go into Samus's visor, you have the gun come out, we kind of know what's going on. But it's much more dynamic and it's much more interesting to the casual viewer that, you know, might not really know much about Metroid, which at the end of the day, that is the goal for these trailers. You want to educate your audience, and that's a goal for any trailer. You want to educate your audience, and this one does a fairly good job of it in a way that the other one doesn't really. If I come back over here to this one, and we come back over here and we watch it again, if we look at this, it's going to go to the Switch logo, and then we kind of just fade up on this jungle, which, to be fair, if I'm expecting Metroid Prime, I can probably assume or get that this is Metroid, and I kind of get that feeling. If I don't know anything about Metroid, though, this could be literally any other adventure game. So, not that it's a bad open, but it's not something that's really going to grab me in the same way as somebody that would be unfamiliar with the franchise. And then you kind of come in here, and then you come in with this jungle. Again, this could be any random adventure game. This could be Uncharted or something like that. Or, you know, Halo with the transport carrier hanging here by the vines, or whatever it is. There's any number of games. This doesn't really have a whole lot of visual identity to it, which is not a great thing when you're opening a trailer. You really want to hook the person with, okay, this looks like something unique and something that I really want to play. None of this really does that. The other thing that I want to say about this is the audio mixing is really, in my opinion, a little bit subpar. If you go from here to here, there's such a stark difference in the content of the actual audio track. One is much fuller and one is much more sparse, which is fine, but it's a pretty harsh transition between the two. It doesn't feel like it's mixed very well. You probably want to fade in between these a little bit more smoothly if you really want to get into it. And then you kind of come over here and you've got this other transition which takes it out and has this like kind of like low rumble kind of thing with the waterfalls in the background, whatever that is. And it's just, it feels a little rough. Again, it's not terrible, but it's not the quality that I would expect from a company like Nintendo that is known for making some absolutely epic, amazing trailers. And so that was a little bit disappointing for me. I've kind of, but I think those are all my thoughts on the cold open, the hook. Let's get into the actual trailer content itself. So she's going to flip in here, or teleport in, whatever, and we're going to end our hook, end our cold open, and we're going to get into Act 1. Now, some of you guys may understand this already. If you know anything about screenplays, if you know anything about TV or film, especially feature film, you will have a 3-act structure in generally any show. And by show, I could mean an episode of a show. I could mean a feature film. I could mean a short film, whatever. You'll have 3 acts. And just like in any show, you're going to have 3 acts in a good trailer too. You go look at any of the big blockbuster trailers, anything that gets people excited and wanting to go into a movie. You generally are trying to answer a different question in each of these acts. Now, this is Act 1 we're about to break into, and we're going to watch it, but just watch for it. When you're in Act 1 in a trailer, you're really trying to answer the question, who are we? So who are the main characters? What are they up to? Kind of sort of introduce the environment without introducing the central problem yet. But you're going to generally kind of just get somebody acclimated to the world. In a trailer, Act 1 is generally the second shortest piece. It's usually not as long as Act 2, and Act 3 is usually the shortest amount of time, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. But what we're going into is Act 1, so just listen for how it answers the question, who are we? Or where are we? All right, so here we go.
This is the unknown planet Vuros. Here, Samus finds a verdant jungle with a colossal tree at its center. In order to survive and escape this planet that she was unexpectedly transported to, Samus must scan stone figures and
Okay, so we've actually already exited Act 1. We know who we are, we know where we are, and we've kind of established the setting. So I'm going to go over some of the issues that I see in this Act 1. My main issue here is that it's really doing a lot more telling than it is showing. And when you're talking about engaging an audience, if you have to tell me how to feel, that means that you're not doing a good job of actually selling me on the actual story itself, because it's called on the nose dialogue is the term for that, where you're basically telling me exactly what's going on. You're not showing me. And the problem with telling an audience is it's not that they're necessarily they're not going to understand. They're going to understand because you're telling them. The problem is that they won't internalize it and they won't relate to it in a way that they actually are going to feel what's going on, because what you want to do is just show them just enough to get them to ask questions, or tell them just enough to get them to ask questions, and then show them the answers to those questions and let them see those answers themselves. This trailer does not do that in Act 1, and here's a good example of it. So if we play this, we can see he's going to say this is Planet Viros, or Vuos, whatever it is, and here Samus is going to find herself in a jungle with a colossal tree in the center. Do you see a colossal tree anywhere? I don't. I mean, I think what he's probably talking about is this thing right here. But if you're going to tell me that something is, like, that there's a colossal tree in the center, because you could just say this is a jungle planet. This is a jungle planet that nobody's ever explored before, whatever. But you're somehow, for some reason, telling me there is a colossal tree in the center of the thing. That means that is a really important part of the setting and a really important part of the who are we, where are we, and I don't see it. I mean, it's here. I'm pretty sure that's what they're talking about, but it's in the fog, in the background. I have to work really hard to see it. It's also in the upper part of the frame, which is actually going to gather less attention. If you break this into thirds, basically you draw a tic-tac-toe board over the screen. It's called the rule of thirds. Our eyes will generally rest kind of in this area, and then they'll kind of rest kind of in this area. And then this aiming reticle will bring us towards the center. Everything is basically trying to gravitate us and gravitate our eye down towards the center of the screen, this area right here, because that's where the story's going to be told. So what you've done is you've said there's a colossal tree in the center, but you've put that up here in the top third of the screen above where my eyes are going to naturally rest. I'm going to have trouble figuring out where that stupid tree is. There's not really any reason you should tell me that, other than you're trying to tell me the story instead of showing it to me, or you're talking down to me as an audience member. I don't know that you necessarily needed him to say there's a colossal tree in the middle of this thing, because it's not mentioned anywhere else in the gameplay trailer. So it just kind of feels like this orphaned piece of information, and that's a theme we're going to see over and over again in this trailer. So I'm going to go back and with those observations, just watch it again, and kind of see what's going on.
Planet Vuros. Here, Samus finds a verdant jungle with a colossal tree at its center.
Okay, even that part where Samus finds a verdant jungle with a colossal tree in the middle, even that part where Samus finds a verdant jungle, it's a jungle. I can see it. Now, if you want to explain the setting that way, I guess that's your prerogative or whatever, but that also feels like I'm talking down to my audience. When you're telling somebody something that's on the nose, it's basically you're telling them something they can already see or figure out for themselves. Again, we want our audience to ask questions, then we want to answer those questions visually so that they actually internalize what it is. They feel like they're a part of the story. They're engaging in it. It's a literal dialogue, question and answer. Okay, I've kind of beat this horse to death, so let's move on.
In order to survive and escape this planet that she was unexpectedly transported to, Samus must scan stone figures and other relics to carve a path forward.
Okay, so let's stop right here. So in order to survive this planet she was stranded on, she has to scan stone relics. All right, so let me ask you this. If you're unfamiliar with Metroid, if you don't know what Metroid is scanning stone figures and relics the main purpose of Metroid? Is it Pokemon Snap? Because if it's not Pokemon Snap, why are we saying, beginning of Act 2, here's the problem? The problem is we're stranded on the planet. What's the solution? In order to escape, we've got to scan stuff. that's a part of Metroid for sure. You build your database and you scan stuff in order to activate switches and do all the other things. Is that really the first thing we're going to tell somebody they get to do in this really cool game, which, by the way, is going to be amazing? I am positive. But the first thing we're doing is telling them they get to scan stuff. Cool. Love that. That's amazing. It's gonna work out real well. Now, if that's important information for us to know for the rest of the trailer, fine. Whatever, we can say it, but man, they spend forever, because they could have stopped this segment right after this and had no issue.
And other relics to carve a path forward.
Okay, to carve a path forward. Boom. End it. Skip this whole next part. Watching a stone wall, because at the moment I'm sitting here. If you leave some of the audience on something that they're unfamiliar with for long enough, they start to ask a question of why they're looking at it. The problem is, this is an unsatisfactory answer. She just blasts it open. That's not an okay reason to just have me sitting there waiting, looking at the stupid thing. It feels underwhelming when she finally blows it up, because you're expecting something to like pop out of it or something. She literally just blows it up, it explodes, and you're like, oh, well, that's what I thought would happen. That's not engaging for an audience. So this is one of the things that you really run into a lot when you edit. Cut out anything that doesn't work. It not even doesn't work, it works. Cut out anything that's unnecessary. This is an unnecessary moment, because right now we could cut straight from that last shot to what comes after, which is this right here. You could literally just cut straight to this and have no issue. Because now we're going to get into the fighting and stuff, which is the thing that people really probably are expecting from Metroid, you know? So, all right, anyway.
Not alone, though. Abhorrent, alien creatures living in the jungle are waiting to strike.
Okay. Abhorrent alien creatures are waiting to strike. This is another example of show, don't tell. All you really have to say here is...
She's not alone, though.
She's not alone. That's it. Because you don't have to tell me these creatures are abhorrent, which, first of all, is a word that a lot of the 10-year-olds watching this are not even going to know. You don't have to tell me which, if you don't know what abhorrent mean, it means, like, disgusting. You don't have to tell me they're abhorrent. They're pretty ugly. You don't have to tell me they're living in the jungle, because she's literally in the jungle, and they're attacking her from the trees. Duh, I get it. It's one of those things where we're explaining what's going on when it's absolutely obvious to the viewer, and so it feels fake. It feels like we're being talked down to. And so again, I'm encouraged. I'm right here. I'm not being encouraged to engage with the story and engage with the visuals myself and make my own observations. I'm being told what to observe. So I have this really cool atmospheric game, and you're telling me exactly what I should be seeing. Shut up. Shut up and let the audience actually observe the really cool environments and things that are here, because it's distracting. I really don't care about what you have to say. I don't care that you're telling me they're abhorrent or that they live in the jungle. Duh. Let me just look at them and make my own observations. Again, a lot of over-explaining in this trailer.
Abhorrent, alien creatures living in the jungle are waiting to strike.
And now here we're into the combat. This is the stuff that people are really going to want to see. This is kind of a cool intro for this, like, plant thing. You know, you've got the bug things. I say the word thing a lot because I don't know what any of these enemies are called. And here's my next problem with the trailer. This is this fade out. So what is a fade out going to do? You do see fade outs in trailers, right? That is a thing. Let's get this off a black screen just so it's not really... We'll do something like that. But you do see fade outs in trailers, right? Like, that's a thing. You see cut to blacks in trailers, especially at something called the drop, which is the end of Act 2. What you don't see is a fade out in the middle of an action scene, usually, simply because that tells me as an audience member that it's over. So if I'm engaged in this action scene, and I think this is really cool, it basically takes me out of the story, because it's saying, hey, this moment is over. I need you to disengage, audience. Audience, I need you to disengage from what you just saw. Well, you generally don't want the audience disengaging during a trailer because it's only like 2 minutes long. And so then it actually requires effort for them to then come this far and re-engage when this fades back in. Now, if that's the only way to do it, then I guess you're stuck. But the nice thing about a video game is you can kind of model and do whatever characters or whatever any kind of way you want to. I mean, this is a gameplay trailer for sure, but this right here, what we're looking at, is definitely a cutscene. So if you needed to modify the cutscene just a little bit to make it transition cleanly from whatever this is into whatever this is, that's not that difficult to do from a gameplay perspective. Even if you're not doing that, there are still other ways that you could get from here to here that don't involve a fade out. Because again, we're emotionally disengaging our audience. And I think the reason why they did it is because they didn't know how to get out of the combat part and into this story moment where Samus gets her new powers, which is fine. But again, I think there are other ways that we could do it. So let's move on.
As she explores the planet, Samus is granted mysterious and ancient powers. Psychic abilities. These powers allow Samus to operate mechanisms and open doors. They also allow her to control the trajectory of her beams with the power of her mind.
Okay, so here's my big issue with this particular voiceover right here. And again, I think the segment's a little bit too long. I think it could be cut down. But, okay. So we start and we do this kind of thing right here, which is pretty engaging. Like, this is pretty cool. This is a great hook. Honestly, this would have been a great open. Because it would have established a lot of questions in the viewer's mind if we saw a couple flashes of this, and then you do a callback to it here, kind of midway through the trailer. It would have made me a lot more engaged right here. But anyway, here's the voiceover.
As she explores the planet, Samus is granted mysterious and ancient powers.
Samus is granted mysterious and ancient powers. Cool, great. That's very Metroid. Like, she always gets the ancient powers and stuff from the Chozo. Great, works really well, right? But then he has to go and keep talking.
Psychic abilities.
Psychic abilities. I don't necessarily need to know their psychic abilities. I don't need him to tell me that because it's right here on the screen. And then if I just read that and then look at what she's doing, I kind of get it. Like, I know. So you really don't even have to have him say anything else because he's going to say that she can manipulate switches or whatever he says and open doors literally as she is doing a switch and opening a door. You also so if we go here,
These powers allow Samus to operate mechanisms
and open doors.
They also allow her to control the trajectory of her beams with the power of her mind.
They allow her to control the trajectory of the beams with the power of her mind. We also, a better way to do this, again, this is reading the script to your audience. Pay attention to this. This is what's happening. You could, another way to do this would be, say, this also allows Samus unprecedented control over her weaponry or something like that. I came up with that off the top of my head. It's terrible writing. I would come up with something better if I were actually making the trailer for real. But you guys get the idea. There's a difference between saying it allows Samus to control the trajectory of her shots with the power of her mind versus, which we're actually seeing what that happen on screen, versus saying and allows her to upgrade her already considerable offensive abilities or whatever it is. Because then what that does, the difference there is you're telling me, hey, this is what's happening on screen, and that's all I'm looking for. If I say this allows her to upgrade her abilities or augment her offensive abilities or augment her weaponry or whatever, then not only am I watching it happen, again, the thing that he told me, I'm also looking at it and analyzing and being like, okay, how does it augment her weaponry? And about the time I get to, hold on a minute, I can come back. So we start right here, and about the time we get to this point, and I see this start turning in a very like not homing way, like it's definitely being controlled because it's not like on autopilot here. The movements aren't smooth. I get it. Oh, the psychic stuff allows her to control her shots and move it places. Oh, that's cool. You hear that in my voice? That's the audience taking advantage of the fact that they're engaged in the story. They're actively trying to answer the questions that have been posed to them at about the same time that it's being revealed to them by the visuals. They're engaged. That's a problem with this trailer because it's always telling me exactly what I should be seeing. So it doesn't give me the freedom to look at it and draw my own conclusions and actually learn about the game and learn about what's going on, as opposed to just being told this is what you should see. Which again, in either case, you're going to understand what's going on. The difference is, are you engaging? Are you actively engaging with the story and with the world as it's happening? And when you actively engage an audience, they remember it so much more. You much more likely to remember something that you feel than you are to remember something you're told or just see. If you engage with it and take a personal stake in it and feel it, you're much more likely to relate to it and then also remember it and be excited about it for later, which, I mean, that is the whole point of this, right? This is it's a gameplay trailer in the sense that it's introducing the new abilities or whatever. But Nintendo's gameplay trailers are usually like 8-9 minutes long, and they come out like 2 weeks before the game comes out. This isn't coming out until later this year. I don't think this will be out until close to Christmas, to be honest with you. And I don't know that I would call this a gameplay trailer. This is a hype trailer. I mean, they needed to kind of give people information and get them hyped about the game because they haven't really told us all that much. So, I think they took the wrong tack with this. But anyways, again, I'll stop beating that horse to death. I think it's dead already. Let's move on.
But why were these powers bestowed upon Samus?
Okay, so that part right there, this should have been much earlier in the trailer, only because now I have questions. I have real questions that need to be answered. Who's the alien axolotl? Why is Samus there? Why is she called the Chosen One? There are many things here, even visually. What kind of race is this? Why is this guy actually a ghost? Is he like an interdimensional thing? Like there's questions I'm asking here, and it's actually the characters in the story. It's called. They're telling me the story because the characters in the story, they're actually acting it out. I'm able to look at it and make observations and ask questions and have concerns and all these other things, instead of being told by somebody who's outside of that story how to feel about the story. Let the characters tell me how to feel about the story. Don't narrate to me. And that's gonna, again, this is a good way to engage an audience because now I have questions and it's a good hook. I kind of already talked about that a lot before. I just wanted to point that out, that this is something that really, you want me to be interested, put this way earlier in the trailer. Put this way earlier in the trailer, because then I have questions and I'm interested in watching the trailer to see if those questions get answered. All right, continuing. Now we get into some of the stuff that I kind of expected to see a little bit earlier. Some of the visual stuff. I mean, now this is cool. Metroid's like fusing with creatures and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of sick. And then you kind of end with this like glowy thing. I think that's kind of a cool way to end it. I think that's okay. I think they wanted it to be like a little bit more of a fantasy epic than it is. And the reason why I say that is because of this line right here. What I meant.
And what will be her fate after being summoned to Vuros? The threads intertwining beyond space and time are beginning to weave a new tale.
Okay, the threads, I'm going to get this wrong. The threads intertwining between space and time are beginning to weave a new tale. You tell me, okay, honest question. Does that sound like something that would be in a Metroid game to you? That sounds like it's out of some kind of JRPG like Xenoblade Chronicles or something like that. And no shade thrown at Xenoblade Chronicles. I love the Xenoblade series. But that is not this. That is not Metroid. And I think that it's almost like and I have run into this sometimes, right? Where I'll be hired to edit a trailer, and a producer will want it to be, it's like, I don't know, like a Hallmark movie or something like that, with like one exciting scene in it, like a fire or something like that, or like a boat crash, or like a motorcycle crash or something like that, and some like crucial story point or whatever. But then the producer will come to me and, yeah, I want this to feel like a Michael Bay movie in the trailer. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It feels like whoever it is, that whatever producer it is that put Nintendo up to, or at Nintendo that put them up to editing this trailer, it kind of feels like they wanted it to feel like a fantasy epic. You know, like the opening of Lord of the Rings, where they kind of explain everything. And that's not Metroid. Metroid is a series about giving you just enough information that you draw your own conclusions and eventually figure out this big interconnected puzzle and this big interconnected mystery. I think the fundamental issue with this trailer is that they misunderstand their audience. They don't actually know who it is that's excited about Metroid. These aren't the people that want the story narrated to them. They're the people that want to see the little tidbits and figure it out for themselves. And again, that's not to say that you can't say anything at all. I think some of this voiceover is okay. But again, you're kind of talking down to me like I can't figure out what I'm looking at, what's in front of me. And then you're kind of putting this other identity, again, this quote, you're kind of putting this other identity on this franchise, and that's totally not what this is. So once again...
And what will be her fate after being summoned to Vuros? The threads intertwining beyond space and time are beginning to weave a new tale.
Threads intertwining beyond space and time are beginning to weave a new tale. No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it for a second. And that, I think, is the real problem with this trailer. I think it's got a massive identity crisis. I don't think it knows what it wants to be. And I don't think that it really had any kind of cohesive vision. And I think you can see that because it feels like 3 different trailers. Oh, I stopped talking about acts, right? Just to reiterate, and I'm not going to go back and break down every part of the trailer because this is already a 30-minute video, because I guess I talk a lot. But the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 structure. So Act 1 is usually who are we, where are we, and we talked about that a lot. Act 2 is what's the problem? Well, the problem in this case is Samus is stuck and she doesn't know why. And then Act 3 is usually what are we going to do about it? So I didn't mention where the break into Act 3 was. So it's back here. Hold on. Coming back. Okay. So the break into Act 3 is kind of right here. Like, what's the problem? So, because we've got the psychic abilities, and he kind of ends it with this question.
Why were these powers bestowed upon Samus?
Why were these powers bestowed upon Samus? That's the end problem that they're kind of ending it with. Yeah, this is the problem. The problem is she's stuck here, and why does she have new powers? And then we go through and we break into Act 3, and this is where we say, what are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to talk to the ancient Axolotl ghost. For some reason, she's the chosen one. And then we're going to break into the action. So the random flower garden, the morph ball part, doing the psychic thing. And then we get into this part where we see the Metroid. What are we going to do about it? We're going to go fight some Metroids, guys. That's how this works. And that's where we're going to end this and get into the title and say Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is coming. And then we have this thing, and so what we call this is a tag. And a tag is basically something at the end that's thematically ties into the trailer, the theme, something like that. If you watch, a really good example of this is like the Guardians of the Galaxy trailers or the Stranger Things trailers always have that like joke at the end, where it's like, okay, it's a serious movie, guys, but then, oh yeah, but no, actually it's still funny, guys, it's still funny. There actually is a tag in this trailer. I just don't think it works. So here's what it is. So this is kind of a cool like upgrade station. Like that's kind of a cool thing. and it's supposed to be this big reveal, like, whoa, look at this sweet new suit. And my problem with this is it's cool. It's definitely cool. But she kind of does like the hero pose right here. And then you fade out. Let me see it for a second. Or come in here and do this kind of thing where she does this right there. And she stands up. And right there. And then when this, whatever that is, wipes the screen, have it wipe and cut, and she does this kind of thing where she kind of looks back and cut to black right here. Don't answer this question for me. The point of a tag is you want the audience to leave with a question that they want answered at the end of the day. This is a perfect place to do it. And then you come in here and you come around the front, and now I can see what we're looking at. And I kind of get this just barely full view of it before it fades out. This is the worst way to answer a question at the end of a tag for an audience member, because if you wanted me to end with the question, this was already pretty satisfying. Like, that looks really sick in the back. And then you come in here, and even the front, it's still not showing enough that I'm still asking questions. But here, it's kind of like you showed the monster. Anybody ever seen a horror movie where at the end, like, it was scary and they showed you the monster at the end and you were kind of disappointed? That's kind of what this is. You see the full thing at the end and all your questions are answered. There's nothing really left to wonder. If you're going to do that, at least let the audience sit there and look at it for a second. Let them enjoy the answer to their question. Instead, they leave it on here for, they zoom out right here. And then as soon as you kind of get a full view, they immediately fade out. That's not interesting. That's frustrating. Because you just gave me an answer and said, actually, no, we're going to take that back. That's not a good way to engage your audience and to leave them. That's actually a very bad way to do it, because it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. They feel like you stole something from them. Whereas here, if you end it where I don't see everything, and I'm still left to complete some of this stuff in my head, like what it looks like up here, or even, again, ending on this shot, which I think is actually probably narratively a better choice. You're leaving me some questions in my mind, but you show me enough to really imagine how cool this could be. And that fact, that thought, that feeling that this could be just absolutely sick when you see the front of it, I mean, that's it. That's the stuff. That's what you want people walking away with, because that's going to make them come back for more. They want that question answered. You do this kind of thing, well, you just answered my question and then snatched the prize away from me, and so now I'm frustrated. And so that's the end of the trailer. I think the main issue with this trailer, again, is it's got an identity crisis. It explains way too much and doesn't know its audience very well at all. It also makes some pretty rookie mistakes in terms of engaging an audience and allowing them to actually take a part and be invested in the trailer itself. And I think that's the biggest issue. It is without a doubt one of the most tragically bad Nintendo trailers I've seen in a long time. Like, this brings me back to, like, some of the trailers we saw at the beginning of the Wii U era when they didn't really know how to talk to their audience yet. It feels like one of those. It feels like somebody's still finding what it is that they want to do, which you expect this kind of thing from, like, maybe a little indie title, or even one of Nintendo's smaller titles like Sushi Striker or something like that, something really random and obscure. You expect that from that level of thing. You don't expect it from Metroid Prime 4. Freaking Metroid Prime 4. I mean, people have been waiting for this for the better part of a decade. This is a flagship thing. And yeah, I get it. The Metroid audience is not as big as, like, Zelda or Mario or whatever, but this is still a huge event. And this trailer, it feels rushed. It feels like it's got an identity crisis. It feels the pacing is all over the place. It is just totally botched. So that's my breakdown of this. And I don't really, again, I didn't make this intending to, like, bash Nintendo or anything like that. Like, they make some amazing trailers. You look at the trailer for Metroid Dread and it's night and day. Even within the same series, they make some amazing trailers. So I'm not using this as an opportunity to say, yeah, Nintendo, blah, blah, blah. Buddy, I've been a Nintendo fan since I was like 4. And I've had every Nintendo system ever, and I will probably continue to buy every Nintendo system ever. So I don't take this as I'm, like, down on Nintendo. But I am going to call them out, because this is ridiculous. Like, this should have been so much better than this. But those are my thoughts. So, again, I use some terms in there, and I try to explain everything that I say, but I know that there are sometimes I use terms that if you're not in this world and you don't study this, they might be a little bit unfamiliar. So if there's anything that I said that anybody's like, oh, what did you mean by that or whatever, please feel free to say it in the comments. You're also welcome to disagree with me in the comments. If you want to say, hey, John, you're full of it, this trailer was amazing, you're allowed to say that too. It is totally subjective. That is literally the whole point of art and artistic vision and doing all these other things. I mean, everybody has different tastes. So you're 100% allowed to disagree with me. So that's it. I'm going to leave this here. But before I go, I'm going to leave you guys with my version of this trailer. And again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I don't have the isolated audio files or anything like that. So I'm going to have to edit around some audio things. But I'm going to try to clean it up a little bit real quick and solve some of the problems I talked about. And I kind of leave you with that.
لكن كالله عشرية تنتينا كالشي
This is the unknown planet Vuros. Here, Samus finds a verdant jungle. In order to survive and escape this planet that she was unexpectedly transported to, Samus must scan stone figures and other relics to carve a path forward. As she explores the planet, Samus is granted mysterious and ancient powers. These powers allow Samus to operate mechanisms and to open doors. They also allow her to control the trajectory of her beams with the power of her mind. But why were these powers bestowed upon Samus? What will be her fate after being summoned to Vuros?
Shadihara Theros Nantanaga Shakaran
So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you guys like doing this, these are super easy for me to do because I sit here and talk into a mic while I just talk about things that I love talking about. So if this is a good video, you guys let me know because I'm having a hard time doing the research heavy videos right now just with work. It just I'm doing a lot, but I can totally sit down and do these if this is something you guys want to see. So that's about it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. And I will be back with something soon. Not sure what it is, but it'll be something. And again, if you guys like these, let me know, and I'll do another one because these are easy, and I can whip these out pretty fast. So, all right, guys, you guys have a good night. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.